Someone who used to text you every day suddenly disappeared. No explanation, no goodbye, just silence. And while most people think ghosting is simply about not caring, psychology suggests the truth is far more complicated. In fact, the reason people disappear may reveal more about them than it does about you. Because the truth is, being ghosted doesn't just hurt.
It stays with you. You start reading old messages. You replay conversations.
You wonder if you said something wrong. You check your phone even when you know no message is coming. And the worst part, you don't get an ending. You just get silence. And the human mind hates silence. We can accept rejection. We can accept, I don't love you anymore. But silence? Silence makes the mind create its own answers. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I talked too much. Maybe I cared too much. Maybe I wasn't attractive enough. And little by little, you start blaming yourself. But here's something many people don't realize. Most people who ghost don't leave because they stopped caring. They leave because they don't know how to deal with difficult emotions. Some people would rather disappear than explain. Because explaining means facing guilt. It means facing disappointment. It means hurting another person. And for some people, that feels harder than simply leaving. Psychologists often call this avoidance. Avoidant people run from uncomfortable emotions. Not because they are strong, but because they don't know how to handle them. The conversation they avoid for 5 minutes becomes silence for 5 months. And while you're searching for answers, they're running from them. And maybe this is the part nobody talks about. Being ghosted doesn't only make you lose a person, it makes you lose the future you imagined with them, the conversations you thought you would have, the places you thought you would go, the memories that never got a chance to happen. And that is why ghosting feels different from normal rejection. Because rejection closes the door. Ghosting leaves the door open. Your mind keeps waiting. Maybe they'll text tomorrow. Maybe they're busy. Maybe something happened. And because that door never fully closes, part of you stays there, waiting, hoping, checking. But here's something painful. People rarely realize the damage their silence causes. A 10-second message, one honest conversation, one explanation, that is sometimes all another person needs to move on. But silence leaves wounds that answers could have healed. And perhaps you've noticed something else. You become careful. You stop opening up. You overthink messages. You wonder if everyone will leave. And this is why ghosting can affect people long after the relationship ends. Because it doesn't only break the connection. Sometimes it breaks the feeling of safety. But that's not the only reason people ghost. Sometimes people love attention more than connection. They enjoy being wanted. They enjoy being chased. They enjoy feeling important. But when things become real, they disappear. Because they wanted the feeling, not the responsibility. And perhaps the hardest truth of all is this. Some people leave because they are emotionally immature. Communication requires courage. Saying goodbye requires courage. Being honest requires courage. Disappearing requires none. And if you've ever been ghosted, you've probably asked yourself one question. Why wasn't I enough? But maybe that was never the question. Maybe the real question is, why did someone choose silence instead of honesty? Because people who are emotionally healthy usually communicate, even when it's painful, even when it's uncomfortable. And here's something that might surprise you. Many people who ghost think about the person they left. Sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months, but they still don't come back. Because every day they stay silent, it becomes harder to explain. The guilt grows, the shame grows, and silence becomes easier. So if someone disappeared from your life, this is what you need to remember. You were left without answers, but that doesn't mean you were the problem. Their silence is not your value. Their inability to communicate is not your worth. Sometimes people leave because they are confused. Sometimes they leave because they are afraid. Sometimes they leave because they simply don't know how to stay. And healing begins when you stop asking, why wasn't I enough? And start asking, why would someone who cared choose silence instead of honesty? The answer often has very little to do with you, and everything to do with them, because closure doesn't always come from the person who left. Sometimes closure comes from understanding why they left, because the truth about ghosting is this. People don't always disappear because they feel nothing. Sometimes they disappear because they feel too much, and they don't know what to do with it. If you've ever been ghosted, you're not alone. And if this video helped you understand the silence, leave a comment below. Because sometimes the people who understand us the most are strangers who have felt the same pain.